A couple of days ago, I was actually reading an interesting article in the New York Times about getting married in the metaverse. Fascinating article. Go and check it out. I don't know much about the metaverse, only that there may be coins out there, but obviously it is an extension of or something that is beyond our physical world. To talk about what the metaverse is and its importance, let's welcome to the stage Glen Gilmore. He's a leading digital marketing and transformation figure. Glen, the stage is yours.
Welcome to the Metaverse. This is an Oculus device, and this is not the Metaverse. Mark Zuckerberg is not the Metaverse. Meta is not the Metaverse. But they're all part of what will be the Metaverse. The Metaverse is a place that brings together the digital and the physical. And a device like this right here is something that lets you enter a world that is completely immersive. If you look at a game like Fortnite, it's a game that has had, at one given moment in the day, nearly 1 million players using it. And it's a device that you access via your smartphone. The meta is what we hear about most when we hear about the metaverse, because it's Facebook and everybody's using Facebook and everyone's on Facebook. But the metaverse, this place that brings together the digital and physical worlds, will not just be meta as defined by Facebook. It will be a world that brings together the digital and the physical, defined, I hope, by all of us. A work of art just sold the other day, and it's really not a physical work of art. It is a digital unit of art. It sold for $69 million. You can see it in the metaverse. When we hear the term metaverse, it may bring a lot of images to mind and a lot of question marks to mind, but the question that we all have is, will the metaverse be a place that we'll enter, that we'll want to advance? This is an image of the metaverse. This is an image of a doctor using an immersive virtual reality headset to do an operation on a mouse, but in the future it will be a person 30 kilometers away. A successful organ removal operation. Think of the possibilities when you hear the term metaverse. Don't just think of Facebook, Meta. When you hear metaverse, understand that what metaverse does is it taps into technology. There have been efforts in the past to use immersive technologies, but they haven't quite worked. Technology advances, and so now we have 5G. The fifth generation of wireless communications that give us nearly instantaneous reaction time and data information. That is the only way that an operation can take place in the metaverse, because there can't be a delay in the information that the doctor is receiving and the information that is being received by a robot. But think of the possibilities of the metaverse, because this is part of the metaverse. Wherever you are in the world, there's no reason why you shouldn't have access to the greatest doctor in the world. That's what we need to think about when we think about the metaverse. In this age of COVID, we've all changed how we work, and we find ourselves too often in front of a one-dimensional screen filled with many people, and it's not how we as people are wired to interact with each other. What makes a difference, though, is the ability of the metaverse to bring us together in an experience that feels very much like a real presence. I do have a video that goes along with this, but I don't know if it's going to show for us. Well, it's all right that it doesn't, but this is an example of an enterprise application of the metaverse that Microsoft has. And I'd encourage you to go on YouTube and take a look at it. And if you do, you will see an immersive world in which you're at your home or you're at your office, and suddenly you bring together people from all over the world. And when they meet, you see them physically. And what's so important about that is that what's important when we interact with each other, how I move, how I gesture. They tell an abundance of information. The ability to collaborate in the metaverse is huge. And as we continue to face problems like COVID that disallow us from having the sort of interactions that we'd like to have more consistently, more frequently, the metaverse offers us an opportunity to do that in very positive, effective ways. Seoul, Korea, which is very much at the forefront of the digital transformation, they've just announced that they're going to have their own city metaverse. Now, there might be some who recall a platform called Second Life, and it promised to do many of the same things. So what has changed here? What's changed here and now is the technology that allows people to use immersive technologies, whether it's a Oculus set or something like that, that gives you that immersive experience and does it reliably. Meet your mayor as an avatar, meet you fill in the blank. But an ability to have someone that you can have what we call data visualization. If you were to, for example, put on a HoloLens set, which is kind of like the virtual reality set that I showed you a moment ago, but it's much lighter. And it is made for enterprise. But when you put something like that on during a meeting, and I've done that, and someone wants to show you a chart or someone wants to show you a building, suddenly you can twirl the building around. And we now have digital twins of buildings so that we can see what's happening and go into much detail about what's happening, again, using that immersive experience. At Davos in 2015, Eric Schmidt was asked about the future of the internet, what his prediction was for the future of the internet. And he said, I expect it to disappear, the CEO of Google. But he went on to explain what he meant by he expected it to disappear. He went on to say that through the Internet of Things, connected devices, I expect us to be immersed in the internet, kind of like the Matrix. And what makes it possible and what makes it now, again, is that advance in technology that allows us to have real-time information and real-time experiences. Technology improves, technology becomes less expensive and therefore much more accessible, and when it does, things change. And this is why when people ask me, well, haven't there been efforts at this before and haven't they failed? Yes. So what's changed? I do believe that high-speed internet is a game changer for the long term, and that's only going to get better as we move into 6G, which will allow that instantaneous exchange of information. When Google came out with Google Glass, the first version was a gentleman you see with the wires. That was the first version of Google Glass. And it went from that to this, almost razor thin. And there were a lot of reasons why Google Glass didn't succeed. I had the good fortune of being, quote-unquote, a Google Glass explorer. I loved it. I loved the experience of being able to walk down the street and I could ask it for information. If I wanted to take a picture of someone, I could wink, literally wink, not a blink, and I could take a photo. But when this came out, it had a terrible reaction. People were like, well, that's an invasion of my privacy. I don't want this. And yet it was a glimpse of the future. Because tolerance changes as well over time, not just technology, so does tolerance. And so when you had Google Glass come out and everyone was so upset with it because it can take pictures, then Snapchat came out with their glasses. It takes a video, you can snap a video and share a video, and suddenly the privacy issue wasn't a problem. They said, well, that's because these have yellow lights that show when you're taking a video. That's not it. It's that we're sharing more and we have a different tolerance level. That's my perspective, at least. So when someone asked me yesterday, well, why will I go into the metaverse? Why will I use the metaverse? My response was, will you use your phone? Why will you use your phone? Because that's where data is. That's where social connection is. As wearables become more accepted, less expensive, Google Glass, when it came out, cost $1,500 US. Now, granted, it did a lot more than Snap glasses, but these were maybe about $130 US. The prices change. Apple is promising, secretly, that it will come out with some sort of wearable soon. And when it does, that will be the game changer. Because whatever Apple comes out with, for whatever reason, for many reasons, we all gravitate to it. And suddenly, the notion of having a wearable will become commonplace. For me, with Google Glass, heads up, hands-free, access to information, virtual, which means, not virtual, augmented, which means an overlay of information. But now we're getting into mixed reality, which gives us an immersive experience where you enter a world, augmented when you see it in front of you, and it's here to stay. And this time, it's here to make a difference in a very positive way. We read about a virtual plot of land that sells in the metaverse for $2.4 million. I say that's crazy, but it's not so crazy. I just recently have started reading Snow Crash, which is the book that coined the phrase, the metaverse. And in that book, it talks about the value of virtual land. And it said, well, it's expensive because that's where the brightest, most innovative people are going and spending their time. And this particular plot of land is a plot of land that's being identified as part of the fashion district. So it's where people who are interested in buying luxury clothing are going. And when we look at a platform like Snapchat, which has about 280 million daily users, 200,000 to 200 million of those daily users are using augmented reality, part of the metaverse, on a daily basis. And what are they using that augmented reality for? To just do silly selfies? In part. But they're also buying watches with that augmented reality. They're trying on a shirt, they're trying on a dress to see how they look. Buying digital art is certainly one aspect of the metaverse. But what I need to help you understand is that the metaverse, which uses technology to bring us an immersive experience, is a place where we can do incredible things. I was in China and I watched a demonstration of people wearing a virtual reality headset, and they were learning how to solder metal with a piece of equipment that's very dangerous. And yet they were able to do it in virtual reality with a very real life experience at a minimal cost, minimal danger. And when I think of the necessity of educating people all over the world, I want to follow on what Simon had said in commending Turkey for leading the world in welcoming refugees and caring for refugees. What we've seen with virtual reality training is that it is staggeringly more effective than any other sort of training. And so it's something that we need to consider when we think about not just retail, and we think about games, but we also think about education. I spoke to another colleague here just yesterday, and he said that he's created an application that lets workers learn how to do maintenance on the wind turbines out in the ocean. He said that's a very dangerous job to do, and it's dangerous to train people to do. But it can be done without that danger, but with a very realistic experience in the world of virtual reality. My introduction to the world of virtual reality was in 2015 when this headset was mailed out to about 1 million people who happened to subscribe to the New York Times. You fold it together, you put your smartphone here, and then you not watch, because for those who have used virtual reality, you know you don't watch, you're suddenly in a new world. My first experience with virtual reality was to step into a story that was told in the world of virtual reality. And for those of you who are in strategic communications, and I suspect nearly all of you are, think about the power of virtual reality to tell and share a story. For me, it was extremely powerful because what the New York Times chose to do was to tell the story of 3 refugees, one from Syria, one from the Ukraine, and one from southern Sudan. And we have heard, all of us, too many stories and read too many stories about so many tragic examples of the torment that refugees go through. This story was different in virtual reality, using this simple box in my smartphone. When I put this on, I wasn't reading a story. I was in the back of a pickup truck that had other kids who were refugees, who had found safety in a new country only to be used for very cheap labor out in fields. And I found myself looking at a sky, looking at kids in the back of a pickup truck who were going on their way to work. And it is an image that haunted me because I was in that world. I saw it happen. When we think about the metaverse, we should think about education, we should think about business, we should think about opportunity, but we should also think about social responsibility. There aren't many people who can spend $1,500 on Google Glass, but somehow innovators were able to send out over 1 million of these, and there was no cost to this in terms of those who got it. We need to be creative. The metaverse is here because technology has arrived that will allow it to happen. It's upon all of us to have the imagination to bridge the digital divide, to make sure that there's opportunity and responsibility in there for everyone. Thank you very much.